and tone controls all the way down, it sounds better than that. So I tried that, and it sounds much better to my ears. Yeah, I love it now. It's
I never had a Vox amp.
yeah, it's something I always wanted. They get hot though.
Good day.
Who's that?
Hey there.
Looks familiar. Hi there.
Welcome, Robin.
Well, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Only there's like so many faces, I don't know who I'm looking at. Well, Kelly and I, as you may know, are in
Hi, everybody.
Ireland,
Nice.
at an area called Doolin. It's near the west. It's on the west coast of Ireland. Anybody know Ireland?
Republic of Ireland?
What?
Heard of it.
Man, this is so great. It's unbelievable around here.
So
Looks
beautiful.
beautiful behind you.
We are in the country. We're in the
Yeah.
countryside for sure. And you know, there's very little in the way of traffic or anything out here on the main road. We're right off the road, but you know, a car goes by every once in a while. Oh wow, it is so nice. It's just everything just beautiful, spread out, beautiful there, beautiful over there. Yeah, this is like, I feel like the best thing we've done since we left the United States. Little trip
Have
here.
you been there before, Robin, or is this the first time for you?
I've played in Dublin.
Yeah.
And maybe another town or something, but I sure don't remember it. I know I've played in Dublin and maybe twice, you know, but that would be, you know, the 90s, you know, the blue,
Yeah.
with the blue line. Because we were all over the globe, you know, with that band. So indeed. But
Great band, yeah.
but this is just vacation, you know, we're on vacation, like really, like a real one. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, we're here with a couple of friends. We spent the day at the beach, just walking along the rocky beach and
Yeah, not Sandy Beach,
not a
rock,
sandy beach, but so beautiful,
Yeah, right.
incredibly beautiful. Yeah.
like wide, long slab rock, you know, that kind of rock. Really so cool. Cows, horses. Yeah.
Very
I've been saying, I feel like I've never seen a cow before or a horse. That's what it feels like. It's been so long, you know, since being in this kind of an environment, and it's just really, really wonderful.
Robin,
And-
what town are you guys near? Oh, sorry, Guinness.
We're near Guinness.
No.
It's 6 o'clock here, so it's Guinness time.
Nice.
Now, is it true that the Guinness is superior to that? I've heard like when you get it there, it's just,
I really don't know, because I actually don't really drink it in the US, but I'm not sure. But apparently they're pretty good on their quality, you know.
I imagine. Yeah.
And this, you know, this came out of a can, of course. It's better out of a tap, but
It's lukewarm, is it?
no,
Lukewarm or refrigerated?
they drink it cold. Was your Guinness
Yeah.
cold?
It
yesterday?
It's out of the tap. It's like a little bit cool. Yeah, it's not warm.
Because
That's,
I drink it lukewarm.
yeah,
Room temp.
Yeah, room temp.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, all right.
There's Dan. Hi, Dan. Haven't seen you in a while.
Oh, man, I've been moving. I got the hell out of Dodge. I left New York. I couldn't
Really?
take it anymore. And I
Where
moved
are
in the mountains, Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania, and I am digging it. I love
That is
it.
so cool.
I'm getting ready to retire in 6 months, leave the corporate world and just practice guitar with my 3 teachers,
Oh,
Mhm.
isn't that
Right
great?
on.
Very cool.
of which you're one of them.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.
Beautiful.
I think, you know, what you're talking about right now, you know, about getting out of New York, you're in the Poconos, you know, like you're kind of living life
I feel it. But let me
I-
tell you, things keep going the way they are in New York. Not that I want to bring politics in here, but I'll be joining you in France.
Yeah. Yeah, the US is getting a little rough there around the edges. But I'm feeling the same way, you know, even in Paris, you know, like we both, you know, kind of thinking, you know, maybe we'd like to get out of town, you know, get kind of the outskirts of Paris, you know, something a little bit more house, you know, yard, plants, flowers. I mean, this is just
Yeah.
so good.
A garden, some birds.
I used to think I
You
would,
like dogs and cats?
Kelly does.
I do, but we travel too much really to
Oh,
have.
yeah, that's true.
I lost my most precious dog about 3 years ago, and I'm not quite ready. But so we travel so much. Even having plants is a little difficult when you travel, you know.
Plants.
We have them watered and you
Yeah, your
know.
pet plants.
So
Robin, I saw that you posted you got your little Walter amplifier in France. How does it sound?
Yeah,
Good.
just like it did in the US. And yes, that is nice. You know, I played this gig and actually for the first time had my own gear. I didn't have my pedal board. That's still in the US. You know, we're coming out to California in September. I'm playing in San Francisco, a private event in Mission Viejo, and then I'm doing that guesting thing for that Steely Jazz, Steely Dan kind of tribute band with Tom Scott and now Keith Carlock. So kind of making up some dates.
Nice.
And so the Dumble will be with me out there, and I left my pedal board because I was coming back. And we'll see when we come back this time. I might bring it with me, or I might just recreate one here, in France, you know. But yeah, nice to have my own rig. What is that guitar you're playing, Dan?
Paul Reed Smith, Custom
Oh.
24.
You were talking about it. I see.
I'm waiting for yours, actually. I'd want to get first dibs as soon as they're available. Whether that will-
Well, I think now it's October 11th or something like that,
Nice.
when the guitar hits the market.
Really? That's good
People like
news.
it.
What is this problem? I hadn't heard about this.
Yeah, it's Paul has been trying to make me a guitar for about 30 years. And there was a long gap in between. You know, like
Yeah.
but he
Between
just,
between this,
oh yes, well,
between-
maybe. Yeah. I don't remember. I think I must have already been playing that guitar. And then
oh, this is back in. This is like your original one, or you know,
Yes.
the original Fender. Yeah.
yes. So that would be roughly 1983, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Paul has, you know, off and on throughout the years, he's like sends a guitar to me, you know, or contacts me. And so I finally, because of my frustration with, you know, like the vintage guitars are the best sounding instruments and sometimes the best playing instruments, but it's really hard to, I've been looking for a Les Paul, man. You know, I've been wanting a Les Paul that I could just really settle down, and this is my Les Paul. And I keep finding myself unsatisfied. And most of it has to do with playability. It's always in the playability area where I have difficulty. It's not sound, just playability. And so I have just found Paul's guitars to be incredibly easy to play. So he contacted me and I'm like, you know what, man? Yeah, let's go for it. Because again, the playability issue, and then of course sound, you know, I mean, that's its own category.
Everyone mute, please.
Yeah, we're hearing some
Everyone mute.
people talking somewhere. So Yeah, this is this will be released in October, sometime like middle of October, something like that. No, we spent about a year working on this thing, you know. He'd send me guitar after guitar. I'd send shit back. We'd have a conversation, and then I finally just went out there and we sat down together and worked on it there. So it's about ready.
Is that the book that you were on about? Can you see it, Robin? Is that the book that you recommended? Can you see it?
I don't know where you are.
No.
Tell me the name.
Robben Ford Rhythm Blues for guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that one now. Thanks. Yeah, it's much easier to see the chord, etc., etc.
Much easier than it was with the Mickey Baker.
That's right. Yeah, so with the Mickey Baker, what I've done is I've transferred them over onto some chord shapes and trying to do it that way. So I started rewriting the chords from that book, really, so as I can understand it better.
The Mickey Baker?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you found that my book gave you a little bit clearer picture?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's brilliant. Thanks very much for the advice there. You know, as soon as you said on the last meeting, I thought, right, I'll order that. And, yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, I'm getting into it. Yeah, I'm getting into it more because it's with the audio as well, and I can sort of train my ears to it more than rather than the Mickey Baker book.
I mean, that really was the idea, because the Mickey Baker is based on, you know, a 40s, 30s, 40s style of guitar playing. So yeah, this was that was the idea, why I thought it was actually a good thing to do, because it just, here's how I took the Mickey Baker book and put it to good use, you know, in my own playing. I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much. Yeah, brilliant.
You're welcome. Right on. Cool. Anybody, has there been anything in the dojo that anyone has come across that wasn't clear to them that we might be able to talk about here?
Well, before we get started, Robin, I'd like to say a word of appreciation. You used that word appreciation, and it reminded me of what I wanted to say about the contribution that you're making, sharing your passion, offering so generously. It's in so many different ways, including the dojo. It's just really, really inspiring. Having recently reconnected with you, because I had followed you quite some time back, I found that getting back into what you teach is really broadening my range. I've always played by ear since I was 9 years old, and I was always averse to theory. And I got pretty good at using the whole fretboard pretty much, but I'm now having the opportunity to see that I might actually learn how to play rhythm guitar at age 66. And it's a long run from age 9 to 66. But I think I'm learning from you. I'm starting to learn how I could be a pretty good rhythm guitarist as well. So I appreciate all of that. And thank you for it.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I mean, I feel like I didn't really become a very good rhythm guitar player until my 40s. So you're not that far behind.
I have motivation to stick around.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's just rhythm guitar is a blast, you know. So how about in the dojo? How about in the dojo? Anything in the dojo anyone's come across that they'd like to discuss a little bit? Because I wonder how many people are actually digging into the dojo.
The songwriting. Ask about the songwriting.
Not yet.
Sort of digging into some of your, your chord progression I did.
Yeah.
And something you said last week really on this, 2 weeks ago, really triggered me, where you said your approach to chords is really taking a look at the 3 and the 7, you know, and then building off of that. And I just kind of, you know, I was kind of stuck in, you know, standard patterns, you know, and it focused on groove and feel, you know, supporting other musicians, but felt like my vocabulary was kind of limited from a choral perspective, you know, to support them. And then you also talked about like different chord voicings will trigger different sort of emotions, you know, to trigger off of. So you got me really started on an interesting journey of just, you know, I just kind of charted out the neck and started looking at for different, you know, chord voicings that way, and playing around. And it's been, you know, it's funny, you get on this thing with you and you say something and it's triggered this whole journey. So kind of like John was saying there, just appreciate you making yourself available like this, and you know, inspiring all of us to, you know, with something you say, to go off on a journey. So
that's really awesome. That's awesome.
And keep recording the dojo lessons, because they're very valuable. When you miss these meetings, to go back, like I missed June's because of my moving, and to go back and look at that diminished lesson that you talked about, it's just it's like another free lesson just out of this. So keep recording these because they're valuable.
Well, that was certainly, and so many things are Kelly's idea, but that was her idea to do so. And we're doing it with everything now, right?
Yep.
With the Zooms,
With the Zooms,
not the last one. This one, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
Rob
like
and
a
I-
great example to, you know, kind of go through your lesson and then launch you off from there, you know. But it's great to kind of see you kind of, you know, apply the concept, and then you can play with it from there. So yeah, very useful.
Robin, I just have a question just about,
Yes.
oh, sorry, I'll let you finish. And then,
No, go ahead, Brian.
okay, so, you know, as, you know, I've been working through them. I worked through the whole intermediate series. And I'm just curious about how you recommend kind of progressing through the various things, because there's so much there. Like for me, I look at, you've got all the various streams, and you know, kind of thinking in terms of moving through and progressing as you, because I found that the intermediate was really good that way, that you kind of work through a variety of things. So, you know, where do you go from there? And on the dojo, I mean, specifically, I'm working through Mickey Baker, which is really filling in the gaps too. So
yeah.
So just some thoughts on kind of how to progress after, you know, kind of the next steps.
Yep. Well, I mean, application, you know, a band, because, you know, there's so much of the way I go about it. I mean, first of all, the way I learn, and then, you know, continue to learn has been through playing in a band, you know, and writing for a band, and, you know, like, so it's such a major part of the education, you know. I don't know if you have some guys that you play with.
Yeah, I have been. I do. You know, I've just recently moved away and had to leave the band, which is unfortunate. But so I'm going to have to pick up some new people here.
Where are you?
I moved from Canada to Barbados. I'm in Barbados now.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a big move, but it's very nice and warm here. I had enough of cold weather, so we're here for a year, and then we'll see where we go from there. But
that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
we're in France for a year, and we'll see where we go from there. You know,
that's what we're going to do. I mean, we'll end up and get back in Canada at some point, but you know, we'll see.
Okay. Well, you know what? That just kind of sounds exciting. Like we're going to be going to Africa. I'm doing. Is that the thing? Yeah. I'm doing in 2023. It's late 2023. It's a guitar safari camp in South Africa. I guess it's about 2.5 hours like north out of Johannesburg into the jungle, so to speak, you know. And trying to remember. Well, anyway, point being that the guy asked me, he said, would you be interested in doing something more? You know, I'll do, you know, the camp. And would you be interested in maybe playing a couple of gigs, you know? And I thought, an opportunity to play with African musicians, you know, if I don't know how distant a concept that is, but you know, I mean, that just sounds exciting to me. So many people do that, right? They engage in with world musicians, you know, and it just does a whole new thing to their music. I mean, Paul Simon is an obvious example, you know, but I think Sting has done that a little bit. Joe Zawinul, you know, Weather Report, Joe Zawinul. So Barbados, I mean, wow,
Yeah.
you meet some really interesting musicians down there.
That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. So we're just kind of getting settled here. We've been here for a few weeks, and so getting around and seeing what's out there. I mean, you know, the Caribbean rhythms and, you know, all those things. There will be, that's what I'm hoping. It's going to kind of add some new flavor to, you know, to especially the rhythms, I think are going to be really interesting. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that might be something, rather than necessarily finding guys for you, you be one of the guys for them, kind of a thing, right?
Maybe, yeah, we'll see. I mean, there is a club that has an open jazz blues night. So I haven't been down there yet, but I will be. So we'll see what happens.
That could be a great opportunity, man. How long have you been there now?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Oh shit! Yeah, you just got there. I'm excited for you, man.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited too. It's a big step for us, but it's all just kind of fit together. So.
Yeah, again, you know, Kelly and me, it's like, holy shit.
Ooh.
It is. Yeah, it's a cultural shock. I mean, we have monkeys hanging around outside our balcony, so you know.
High five.
That's about 30 of them hang around our balconies some evenings, and
they will steal your keys. Don't let those.
I know
they'll steal your car.
Yeah, they're quite entertaining, but we do keep an eye on them. We don't leave anything on the balcony.
That's so great.
Yeah, so.
Amazing. Yeah. I would, you know, back to the beginning of our conversation, you know, just application, you know, really. Yeah.
Thank you.
And, you know, again, for me, like at a certain point, and this would be in my 30s and maybe late 30s, you know, the way I chose to develop from there was the songwriting thing, you know. It's like, so I wanted to be, because I didn't want to play with other people. I mean, I love to play with other people, but I would work for great people and I'd get bored, you know, because it's just, all right, here we go again, you know. And I'm going to do this again tonight. You know, most gigs, you're kind of, you know, you're providing a function, you know, even with really high-end people, it's not a free to play, you know, you're providing a function. So I needed to, you know, create my own music and play with my own group. So that is the way that I kind of went, all right, you know, here's how I needed to do that in order to be able to be playing music that I wanted to play, you know, and create the environment that I wanted to be in, because I didn't find it anywhere else. I couldn't find the environment that I needed to be in. So I had to create it myself. I have never wanted to be a band leader, ever. I love being in a band, but it's like, okay, been here, done this for a while. It's not changing. Playing the same thing, you know, unless you're learning. And, you know, when I was earlier, I was learning in those situations. Okay, how to do this. And I learned how to do it. And then it's like, what's next? So I gave myself an assignment and a challenge, which was to write really good songs.
That's interesting.
Kelly, yes.
I said, that's very interesting when I think about how I came across you. I was taking guitar lessons about 25 years ago, and a fellow mentioned your name as one of his influences that was teaching me. And so I started looking you up, and obviously it's been a journey since then. But one of the things that surprises me about you is obviously your love of the blues. But my first introduction to you was totally unconscious when I bought the album Tom Scott Meal Express Tomcat.
Is this Julian?
Yeah,
Can you, we can't see you. There you are. Okay.
yeah. Back in '76, I bought that album and thought, man, this is some cool guitar on here. And it turned out it was you. I had no idea that
Oh,
you
I see.
had that kind of background. And it was like, wow, the things you did on that album I thought were phenomenal. The swell, the volume swells and cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that you morphed into the Yellow Jackets from there. Is that right? Or
Well, I created
That
the
happened.
Yellow Jackets. I started the band.
yeah,
I put that band
Right.
together. Yes. Yeah, I had not, like joining the LA Express and doing that experience, that wasn't my road, like
yeah,
at the time, I did it because it was going to be an amazing learning experience. And they were cool people and they were older than me. And I knew that I could learn, So that's why I took the gig. And had I not taken that gig, I don't know about this fusion thing, if I ever would have done it. But it did lead to the Yellow Jackets. But all of that stuff, that's going on that record was I was learning it in the band, And I mean, Tom Scott took me to Guitar Center in LA and said, well, Larry Carlton, I think he uses this pedal. And because Larry was, they all knew each other very well. And Larry was on the first LA Express record. And so Tom had experience. He goes, I think he uses this MXR thing, And so we got 4 pedals and, I'd never used a fuzz tone in my life, shit like that. And so anyway, and Larry, I heard the first LA Express record and of course the first Joni Mitchell album, and that's the music we were playing. And so I got a volume pedal and I'm like, okay, I guess you do this, and I was totally learning, And fortunately, the album was cut at the end of that year. I'd already been playing with them, for about 9 months. And with Joni and them, playing the music from the first LA Express album and the music from Court and Spark. And some other songs of hers, of course.
that was beautiful work, man.
Well, thank you. I mean, I listened to it and I think the music stands up, I can hear how my time is a little wonky, and I'm kind of nervous sounding, but I'm still, I mean, the experience, to have had that experience, absolutely, fresh.
Not afraid to be a fool, Robin, not afraid to be a fool.
Yeah, I certainly felt foolish many times.
Well, what's interesting along those lines, you talked about a couple of times now, I've heard you mention that you really didn't feel like you came into rhythm playing until you were 40 or so, but
Yeah.
yet I've found a lot of things on YouTube from your early days with instructional videos, and you certainly weren't 40 in those videos. I don't know how young you were, but you started that track pretty young doing instructionals, didn't you?
30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was in my early 30s. I started doing some things through the GIT. They published the first thing I ever did, because I used to go in there and just teach for a day. I didn't teach. I sat in a room and just counseled for a day. They'd give me a check and I'd split, and I used to do that from time to time just to pick up a little extra money. And, I'm in LA. And so Pat Hicks, the head of the Institute, GIT, he said, would you be willing to do a book? What is it called? Hot riffs? Hot riffs. I think Hot Licks already existed and they called it Hot Riffs or something like that. So that was the first time. And I actually sat down by hand and I wrote out 16 riffs and then explained them. And I think that was audio. I'm not sure. There may not have been audio. But that was sort of the beginning, of my my life as a teacher. What was it you asked about or said? Oh yeah, that you felt like I was doing good things, but you know, a little bit.
Somebody felt you were doing because they were giving you the gig. So
Not as
obviously
a rhythm
you were
guitar
renowned.
player. Not really
Okay.
the rhythm thing so much, you know, not so much. But I developed it, you know, through that period, through the, you know, through my 30s, it started getting better. You know, it started getting better. And then by the time the Blue Line, you know, when we got that band together and started recording that way, I was, you know, when we made records, I had like 3-4 different roles that I was playing. There was a drummer, there was a bass player, and then I like did all kinds of shit, including writing everything, you know. But that's where I really started, you know, it really started coming together for me. And it was the Hendrix thing, you know. It was there's a song on the second Blue Line album, Mystic Mile, on that album. It's Roscoe Beck's song. Actually, it's the one song that he wrote for the band, and it's called Say What's on Your Mind. And I had never played guitar like that before, and I somehow this just sort of happened there, and I'm like, this is cool. And it's kind of Hendrixy, you know, kind of R&B, you know, sixths, you know, thirds, little hammer on third, fifth things. And that's where it really started to go for me. 40.
Hey, Robin, this is Jack. I've got a question for you. How are you?
Okay. And Norman, let's do you. I saw you raise your hand over there next. Okay. Yeah, Jack, go.
So obviously longtime fan. One of the things that I try to understand, and maybe you can explain a little bit, is how you go about taking a straight blues tune. And I'm thinking right now with Help the Poor, which you're the first person I ever heard play that a million years ago, but you take that tune harmonically someplace completely different. You know, what's your method for doing that? Like, how are you thinking of those changes?
You're talking about with the improvisation?
No, not the. No, I'm talking about more harmonically, the chords.
Okay.
Structure.
So when you say I take it to a different place, does that mean that you know the B.B. King, original B.B. King version?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just like a straight 1-4-5 minor key blues.
No. That song has some chords in it. You know, I play true, you know, to the B.B. King version from the perspective of the chords, but we use the altered chords. You know, I'm playing, you know, instead of G7, I'm playing G13 plus 11, you know, and B flat 13 plus 11 instead of just B flat 7, you know. That's really where it gets a little bit different.
Okay, but what about when you go into the bridge? That almost sounds like you're going into almost like a major seventh feel on that, as opposed to just going to the 4 chord.
Yeah, I mean, I would play like a B flat major 7 add 9. So it's just the voicings, right?
Yeah, totally. That's just what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah, and that's the same answer, kind of. You know, instead of G7, I'm playing G13 plus 11, and instead of, you know, G minor 7, you know, I'm definitely, you know, playing the extended chords, right? And so, you know, G minor, B flat major 7, then there's B flat major 7 with the 3rd in the root, B flat major 7 with the 5th in the root, you know, so they're just voicings. And it's, I don't know how hip you are to the mode thing, you know.
A little bit.
Yeah, but B minor 7, like, people really should understand the piano at least the white keys on the piano, you know?
Yeah, that's one of the things I just started to do
Okay,
at age 70 plus.
I dig it. So, you know, C major, D minor 7, E minor 7, F, and your fingers don't even change, right?
Right, exactly. That's the extent of my keyboard playing.
Well, I can do a little more than that, but not much. So, you know, help to pour is in D minor 7, right?
Right,
Yeah. So the scale is C major.
right.
And you have all of the triads of the C major scale that you can play against D minor 7. And that's modal playing, you know, in a nutshell. So then you have the extension. So there's D minor 7, F major 7, A minor 7, those three, just the same fingers, you know, with the F in the root, with an A in the root, D, you know, and just those triads, just like that. That's how you open up those chord voicings. So try it. Just play a D minor 7, D minor on the piano, you know, and your last note's going to be F. So you've already got the F, A, C. You've already got the C. So the A. So then C, E. And your chord has just gotten huge, you know, and you can keep going with that. So that's what I do. And I mean, it is actually basic. It's basic, you know, it's modal playing 101 to relate that way. Yeah.
Maybe that's something you could put into the dojo, just like a little.
I talk about it all the time.
I don't know. I guess I'm not picking it up just in that way.
Yeah, there is absolutely a lesson on the modes, and I think it's in the intermediate course. You know, Guitar the Way I Learned It.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that it's in the intermediate course, and it's the modes. I will look at it. I wish I could look at it right now, but I think it's there. Is that our bird chirp?
There are birds in the background. It's not our birds, like the Ireland birds.
It's the when Irish birds are chirping, shirt'll steal your heart away. Or maybe that's the Guinness talking. I'm pretty sure though that, and we talk about the modes a lot around here, you know, because it is so basic. It's so basic. It's just a light bulb has to go off, you know, but it's the simplest of all things. Yeah, it's the white keys of the piano. That's it. And, you know, like when somebody goes, like if you're in C major and somebody goes to an F minor 7, it's the white keys of the piano starting with E flat, because F minor is the 2 chord of E flat. Then it's just the white keys of the piano again, you know. That's how I refer to it, because it's so clear. Yeah, it's so clear on the key of C. There you go. You know, D minor, E minor, F. It's all right there, you know.
Gotcha. I will experiment more. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Norman.
Robin, on the basic.
I got to talk to Norman here. One sec.
Sure.
One sec. We'll come back, John.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Norman.
Hi, Robin. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
You got a great background there. It looks lovely. I just wanted to reiterate what one John said earlier about the things you bring up. You were talking about diminished scales a few weeks ago. I started studying with a piano player who was down the road from me. He used to be a studio musician in Los Angeles, Stu Goldberg. He used to play with John McLaughlin.
Stu Goldberg, I know that name.
Yeah, do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm studying diminished scales with him, and we're looking at Miles Davis's songs, like an artist like that. So I put those.
Fantastic.
Just look. Yeah. But the question I had was, I've been listening to Joni Mitchell a lot, and along with your stuff, of course. And in her compositions, I mean, lyrically they're lovely, they're interesting, but she has a lot of space. You know, like Chord and Spark and Hejira. There's a lot of space for the other musicians to really kind of stretch out. like especially in Chord, Tom Scott does some lovely stuff.
Mm.
How do you get when you're writing music? How do you get to the point where you can have that kind of space and not have the song fall apart? Like it's almost like she kind of lets the song, or you let the
Breathe.
song kind of go to a certain point, and just when you're kind of almost not quite losing interest, but you kind of go, okay, then it's right back. Right? Do you know what I mean? And in that space, the ear has a chance to it's either a chance to rest or think, or somebody else comes in like Tom Scott or something, like Larry Carlton would come in and play something cool. Right?
Yes.
And then you're back into the song. How do you do that in the structure of a song? I've been trying to write songs and I can't get to that space feeling.
Well, like for me, I've always wanted to be in that space, and certainly when I started writing songs, I wasn't writing much. That was very good. And so I used the blues, I used the blues as my medium to practice songwriting,
Okay.
And it already has a, kind of a swagger to it. It's, there's familiar content, in every blues, there's some kind of very familiar content, and it's not too challenging. You don't have to get too poetic. So for me, that was a way that I started just exercising the lyric side of writing lyrics, and the music was, really fundamental R&B. So when I started trying to break out of that, the record that actually represents that transition is an album I did called Supernatural. I don't know if you've ever heard this record, but
I have. Yeah.
I had been studying, I should say, I had really started studying songwriting at that time. And studying for me meant really reading books or things written by or on composers of all kinds, I mean, I'm a big fan of Stephen Sondheim, and he wrote a book called On Lyrics. I got the book, I read the book. Oscar Hammerstein III had a book called On Lyrics. And, Sondheim did with Hammerstein, like I was doing with Mickey Baker, he took it to a new place, and so I was really wanted to know, and I got a thesaurus. Do you have thesaurus and rhyming dictionary, those things?
Mm-hmm.
So they're basic tools, right? Oh, there's also a great book, and I say this not because it's almost, well, anyway, the book is Tunesmith by Jimmy Webb.
Okay.
Are you familiar with
great composer?
Are you familiar with his book?
No, but I'm familiar with the songs. The songs are great.
Get Tunesmith, get his book. So what you're doing, you're putting your attention towards the masters. You're listening to and thinking and learning how the masters thought. And it's the middle part of Jimmy Webb's book, Tunesmith. He goes, here's how I write a song, and he literally builds a house, and I mean literally, and he has diagrams. Here's the front porch, here's the living room, for real. So the middle of that book, I didn't read it. I read the first part, which was all the inspirational stuff. And I read the last part, which was all the business stuff, but I need to find my own way to write songs.
Okay. Okay.
And it's always been like that. As soon as somebody starts talking about, here's how you do it,
because it's easy to come up with riffs, right? You can easily come up with riffs or kind of like little chord progressions, but to make it, to give it some coherence is a real challenge for me anyway.
Mm-hmm. To give it coherence?
Yeah.
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 So
beginning, middle, end.
So in this spirit of being in the head of a songwriter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like I used to be, and I mean, I am, but you know, I was in the head of being a guitar player. So it's like, all right, I'm going to learn how to write really good songs. And I'm going to do this, you know? So I really got into that head. And so you're thinking about lyrics all the time, you know, and how they flow. And, you know, thesaurus, rhyming dictionary and its words, you know, and how they flow and everything. The space that you're talking about, that's its own element, right? And because it's not exactly a technique, right? It's a feeling, that space.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I find it in the chords. We talked about this. I think, John, you were referencing it, you know. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how this chord feels like this. You know, you play a G this way, it feels and sounds like something. If you play it like this, it feels and sounds different. So I feel my way through a song, and that to me is where I find the space that I believe is what you're talking about. It exists in, you have to be playing something. So you find it in the chord, that feeling that you're looking for, that release that you're looking for, you know, that chord doesn't do it. You have to have your own kind of, you know, sense of that, of course, you know, it's like, I play a chord, it makes me feel like something, especially when it's played after a first chord, you know, play this chord, then play that chord. It, you know, it takes you somewhere, you know? So I literally feel my way through, like, whatever my next chord's going to be, I might play, you know, 5, 6 different inversions of it, you know, before I find the one that, there it is, you know, but I have to go through the process just like anybody else, you know, and that's how I do it. That's how I unlocked songwriting, was the chord knowledge, knowing chord voicings, you know. And like, okay, I have that B minor 11, B minor 7, you know, plus 11 or whatever. If I didn't know how to play that chord voicing, I'll never find it, man. You know, all I got's a cowboy chord. So you learn all those chord voicings, you have a whole nother feeling, you know, this B minor sounds like this B minor sounds like that. And that's where that's how I do it. I feel my way through those chord voicings, you know. And I eventually got to the place where I almost never play a major 7th chord. I'll play a B minor 11, which has a, you know, the relative major triad is a major 7th chord, but I almost never use a major 7th chord anymore. So that's because it doesn't feel, you know, it says something in particular that to me is like, I can use it here and there, but it's just a little bit.
So when you're writing, do you think of a bass line when you're choosing those voicings?
Well,
Because you know, often a voicing will be quite high on the guitar, right, versus lower.
It reveals itself, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, putting the 5th in the root. That's now your root. Bass player is going to play that note, you know. And bass lines can come along too, you know. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I don't mean to jawbone y'all too much here, but like I have a song called Don't Lose Your Faith in Me from the album Supernatural I mentioned a little while ago. And that song is in A major. And I was playing an A major triad. And I would play, there's like a sus chord. So it's like G add 9, B minor, which was a D, B minor over A, G over A. It's basically G over A, D over A, and A major. That's what it basically is. And I'm like, that A major just sounds too happy. But if I go minor, it sounds too minor. It's too sad. So I took out the major 3rd. I took out the 3rd, right? there it was, because it's undefined. And the song is pensive, and it has this pensive quality to it, you know. The case isn't closed. This is not happy. This is not necessarily sad. This is pensive. So not using the third gave me that quality. I think that's a perfect example. Go ahead.
Is that still a triad though? Or is it a triad without the third? You're playing the fifth and the seventh or what?
It's just tonic, fifth, tonic, fifth, tonic.
You know, it's funny, Robin, like big theme here, just joining this group, chords, you know, and as guitar players, we're all like, oh, I got to learn how to noodle. You know? And like, of course, you know, dang it, wish I'd figured this out sooner in life, but
oh, it's always good. And it's a great way to go forward, you know?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Appreciate it.
Somebody, I don't know if they're here, put a note up on the, what is it called, honey? You know, where I answered a question.
Lounge.
The lounge, yeah. And the question was about rut, getting out of a rut. Do you ever get in a rut? And of course, you know, well, I used to get in ruts. I don't get in ruts anymore because there's too much to do, you know? It could be learning chords. You could be learning scales. It could be working on your back and forth picking technique. You know, they could be working on pull-offs. It's like, there's always something to do. Tons. It's like the Joe Walsh song, right? Don't let nobody tell you that there's nothing to do. Do you guys know that song? Anybody? No?
No.
You can go overseas, speak in Chinese, do the Watusi, watch I Love Lucy. Don't let nobody tell you that there's nothing to do. Woo woo.
That's awesome.
That was beautiful.
Well, thank you. I have to give credit to my mentor, Joe Walsh. A lot of frozen pictures here.
Well, Robin, I'm going to bounce right back to what I was going to say before, because you were talking about modes. And
Yes.
I went to the dojo and I found where you address modes.
Yes.
And it is in the beginner's course. It's lessons 22, 23, and 25. So that's where I'm finding the modes on the dojo.
Okay, thank you for that. I thought maybe I'd put it in the beginner's course. And then I thought, what am I doing? This is maybe not beginner's material, you know? But
that's where it was.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I looked at the intermediate as well. I did not find it addressed directly. It could be. You go into a, you know, pretty much, yeah, even Mixolydian mode is in the beginner's lesson 24. So 22 through 25 is for those who are interested in your talk on the modes is there.
Thanks, man.
Sure.
Hey, Jim Constant.
Hey, Robin. Yeah, just real quick. One of my favorite tools are backing tracks.
Yeah.
And you know, for example, I think it was Guitar Techniques. You did a Talk to Your Daughter thing. They released a -1 track from the original recording, and I love that thing. And I was wondering if there's any chance you might release more -1 tracks of yours somehow, like especially like a Tiger Walk or something like that, or you and the new stuff too.
Yes. Yeah, it's a
complicated, I imagine.
It's expensive.
Oh, really?
And also, I don't own it. You know, these things are owned by record companies. And then it's sort of, it's like there has to be permission. I mean, it's possible. But we've been talking about doing things like this, you know, recently. I appreciate you bringing up the subject because it is, you know, a real particularly good way, you know.
It is.
To learn and apply. It's just it's a kind of a big deal on the production side. And we just, again, Kelly has been encouraging this because anybody see this new, like we have one songwriters course thing up? Is it only one?
Yeah.
Just the one.
Songwriter lesson,
Songwriting, we have a songwriter's course now, songwriter lesson.
make my own weather.
And it's a song called Make My Own Weather.
Has anyone seen it?
Anybody seen it?
Just downloaded it actually. So I'll have a look at that later on.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent. Great tune, Robin.
Well, thank you.
Great lyric. Great lyric.
Well, thank you. That's the good part. Otherwise, it's just a blues, But I mention it because we're, at least we're using the very rough mix. It's there, to be heard. And it's not quite music -1. But things like that I can do. So in other words, newer recordings will do this. I had thought about doing it with Purple House because I've had the whole Purple House album transcribed, and even the guy, through some kind of synthesized method, he's got the guitar solo, and it's a little cheesy sounding, but it's also incredibly accurate, Here's all the notes, here's all the tablature, it's all there. So we're working on it.
That's great.
It's a slow go, Jim. Sorry.
Yeah. That's
So
all right,
Mike
that's
Varney,
cool.
Mike Varney, you had a question, I think?
So I just started out in the dojo, and actually I'm going to get to see you live for the first time in San Francisco when you come out next month. So I'm looking.
You're going to be
that.
there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Oh, thank you.
Oops, turn that off. So the question I had was, an actual question that I don't know if you have on the dojo, but and maybe I'm wrong, but I was thinking this was a tritone substitution thing. Where,
Yeah.
I'm playing a minor 7.
Yeah.
And then you can do these like that.
Yep.
But then I was actually noodling around and found that these D minor 6 to D flat minor 6 kind of fulfills the same role as these dominant 7s. And I was
Are you
wondering
just putting the root
why-
in? Are you putting the low note on the E on the root?
just going down a 4th or
Yeah.
or up a 5th.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
So if I'm here, I can go. And
Yeah.
that sounds really good. And I was wondering why. And
I'll tell
I was
you.
wondering-
So the first chord, you're in the key of A minor. So the first chord is F7, right?
I'm in the key of B.
Oh, you're in B minor?
Yeah.
All
This is a
right.
B minor, right?
So you're playing a G7 to an F sharp 7.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so go back up and play it with the low note.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead and play it. Go back up and play it. You're kind of breaking up, I'm afraid. That
Oh,
one
I'm
right
sorry.
there. Stay right there. That's the G, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. So what you have is the 5th in the root. It's a D. It's a D, and it's a 5th in the. It's the 5th of G7. And it's really cool that you pointed out just now. You pointed out that that's a D minor 6 also, right?
Yes.
Same notes. It's all the same notes that you would use to play over the D minor 6, the G7 with the 5th in the root.
Uh-huh.
The scale, do you know what the scale is that you would play through that G7 chord there?
Probably a Mixolydian.
Well, it would be the Mixolydian mode in G, which would be the C major scale.
Okay. Yeah, because it's the D Mixolydian would be the
G.
The G Mixolydian is the C major scale. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you drop down a half step, you're playing F sharp 7 with the 5th in the root.
So basically, these are like shell voicings, only it's a rootless voicing in one, and then substituting the fifth in there to make up for dropping the root. Is that how it works?
Well, it's a really you know, I would play that. I do that. I didn't used to because I didn't like the fifth and the root, but I love it now. I would do exactly that. And yes, a bass player is going to go G to F sharp. So the root's covered if you're playing with somebody else. And honestly, it's such a cool sound anyway that it's not like you're missing the bass player when you do it yourself like that. Very traditional, you know, in the best way. Chicago blues players play like that. They use that voicing a lot, you know.
Nice.
That's great. We covered some ground there, you know. G7 with the fifth and the root. G7 with the fifth and the root. It's D minor 6. Wow, that's interesting. You know? Good one. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up and see you in a couple of weeks. We're still on vacation. Hey, Dathan, how are you doing there, man? You're frozen. Your picture is frozen. We have terrible internet here.
Yeah, really bad.
I'm doing fine. I missed a couple. You know, life's gotten in the way. Been a couple of weeks, but
yeah, I thought we hadn't seen.
I think some the times. I think some of the times, like last couple of weeks, there's just no way I could have made it. But this one worked out, so I could come. So.
All right. Glad to see you back.
Beautiful.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Robin.
All right. A pleasure. How about that?